Today we're talking about something so important that most people do not want to talk about. We're going to talk about how to save money, but I'm going to take it a step beyond it, and I'm going to be sharing the 3 phases today of how you can go from being a tight saver to literally having anything you could ever want. Check it out.
'Cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary. It's about to be legendary.
I was forced to be a saver in my early 20s. I had just started attending college. A year later, I married the woman of my dreams and we had debt. I got a full-time job and she also had a job, and we were doing our best to balance everything. But more importantly, we were trying to avoid going into student loan debt. So having a job to pay for college and being a full-time student, that was stressful to say the least. We were not successful. We did not make enough money to be able to pay for all the bills. My wife just didn't feel comfortable with government debt, so we used credit cards instead. When we got to the point where we had $8,700 of credit card debt, I remember I freaked out. I'm like, okay, I've got to become one of the world's best savers. And my wife and I, we developed this thing called KPPPM. It stood for Cleanse Parents Penny Pinching Month. They were notorious penny pinchers when they first got married, and we were inspired and said, hey, right now, if we keep going into debt, we won't be able to afford the payments on our debt, and it doesn't matter how much money we make, we'll never get out of debt. So we were so worried and scared that fear drove me to become an amazing saver in the beginning of my marriage, because getting out of debt became a really high priority so that it wouldn't overtake us. If you've ever been in debt before, it's not a good feeling. And there's a certain amount of debt that you can afford and pay for, but there's a point at which it's just too much and you can't afford the payments, and then it just avalanches all over you. So I became a saver out of necessity, but I want to share with you a strategy that I used to get myself out of debt. And it wasn't saving, because I couldn't save enough money to get myself out of debt. I was going to have to try something different. Today, I hope that what I'm about to share will inspire you not just to become a great saver, but really to save for a specific purpose. And that purpose is this. In life, you can be a saver, you can be a spender, or you can be an investor. And the reality is that all 3 of them are important. The spender is maybe the more materialistic person that just wants to splurge and live it up today, and they want to buy themselves drinks, and they want to go partying, and they want the nicer car, and they want the nicer house, and the nicer clothes, and they just want it all now. And that's the spender persona. On the opposite extreme, you have the saver. The saver is so good at cutting corners and saving on here and there money. And at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of fun in life. They tend to be a little bit more crotchety, a little bit more anal retentive. But you know what? They've got something that the spender doesn't. They have money because they don't spend money. And then you have one other key persona. This is the investor. The investor is the person that realizes, I will never save enough money to get where I want to go. And if I want to be a spender someday, like if I want to enjoy the nicer things in life, how am I going to get myself there? I'm going to need to invest. Now, the investor, the spender, and the saver are all important. And there's a proper sequence that you should be emphasizing during 3 different phases of your life. You, at your age right now, if you haven't accomplished a lot financially, check it out, figure out which phase you're supposed to be in. And let me show you how I, in 4 years, went from being financially poor and in debt to moving into a 10,000 square foot home and living the lifestyle dreams of my life. Okay, the first phase, this is what I call living check to check. And when you're living check to check, it's really important that you're doing things in the proper order. And this is what it looks like. The first priority is on saving. The next priority is on investing. And then the last priority is on spending, of which you should probably do very, very little. And if you can actually make this your pattern, then being a saver so that you can invest is what you'll do to get yourself out of a check-to-check bind. Once you've been able to actually accumulate some money, you're gonna go into a different phase. This is phase 2. This is called the investment snowball. I'm gonna call it the S-ball. The investment snowball essentially means that you now have enough savings that you're not panicking, you can sleep well at night, but you've accumulated enough money that your new focus is right here. You're investing first. Everything is about investment. It's not a nicer car, it's not a nicer house. You're saying, I'll have all those things down the road. I've got to become an amazing investor now. And then after you invest, you're going to replenish and add even more to your savings, and then you're going to be able to do some spending. This is the period where you're actually taking a little bit and you're turning it into a lot. In real estate, I double my money every 5 years. When I start using other people's money, it becomes exponential. The returns are infinite. It's freaking wild. If you can go through these 2 phases, you're gonna love this last one. Phase 3 is now called the privileged life. And with the privileged life, this one looks a little bit different. Here, spending was the last priority. Here, the spending was the last priority. But now, spending gets to be a first priority. You now can live in the house of your choice. You can drive the car of your choice. You could get a private jet for some of you that really take this to the extreme. But the bottom line is there's a lot more travel and there's a lot more fun. Now, by the way, do not ever equate spending with fun. You should learn how to have heaps of fun here that doesn't require lots of spending. Heaps of fun here that doesn't require lots of spending. Now, phase 3, the privileged life says, my investments are paying for everything I want, so guess what? Now I'm gonna spend, and I also have the ability to continue investing, and I also have the ability to save some money. The orders get reversed. I wanted to show you this today because here's what I hope you'll walk away with. I hope you understand that there's a time for your day in the sun, to be out and play, to be toes up on the beach, to be traveling the world, and to be living at large. But if you do it when you have little in the beginning, then you'll never sustain it long term. Basically, you're gonna live it, you're gonna enjoy it for a little bit, and then it's gonna be gone. For this plan to work, you have to become a master of investing. And when I wrote this book, The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth, I've written several books, but this is the one that I want to get out to you and put in your hands, so much so that the book is actually free. I've paid for it. I've paid for its printing, and this is a roadmap to making your first and several millions of dollars. I ask that you cover the shipping on it, so if you click the link below, the book is otherwise free and yours. But the reason why I put all this together is because I want you to have it all. And for you to have it all, for you to live life on your terms, to live that adage of being with you want, when you want, who you want, living how you want, you can have all of that. But you see, there's a way and an order in which life needs to be lived. And in the beginning, it's really important that you learn that it's not about having it all in the beginning. You got to learn how to have it all here and have it all here. You focus on getting your joy and your excitement out of the things that have intrinsic value instead of external value. And so you don't have to live in a nicer house to feel more abundant inside. You learn to be happy with what you got. You learn to be happy with a smaller life, a simpler car, or taking even public transportation. Doing that and putting all that money towards investing will give you a time in your life when you can also say, hey, now I don't feel just joy internally. I'm glad that I trained that, but I now get to feel it. I get to add to it externally because I'm traveling around the world. I'm spending time with more of my loved ones instead of at a job. You simply have a lot more freedom to live the life that you want, but it does require you to reverse that spending habit and turn it even from saving really into investing. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope it was useful for you, understanding the different phases of life and figuring out where are you and where should you be. I think those are 2 really important questions. Have you been more of a saver? Have you been more of an investor? Have you been more of a spender? Regardless of what you've been, decide right now, who do you need to be right now? What does your priority need to be on? And then figure out what are the habits that I need to pick up today to make that possible. If you're not sure how to invest, if you don't know how to make the big money, then this book will show you how to produce returns light years ahead of 401ks, IRAs, the stock market, boring things like that, that frankly, a lifetime of still can't create enough of what you want to really be a spender that can enjoy some of the nicer external things of life as well. This book can definitely show you the way. That's why it's called The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. And everything that I poured into this book, I dedicate to you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining today. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. Have you rung that bell? I come out with videos every single day, and they're all designed to help you learn how to rock it out in real estate, in business, in wealth, but also in the basic foundation of a psychology that will help you be happy and successful right now. So check it out, see some of the other links in the description below that I've provided to help you have the most successful life possible. And who knows, maybe I'll catch you live at one of my next events where we're changing people's lives. You could be next. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.